She's a cancer survivor who healed her body naturally, and she's also the author of the best-selling book Nutritional Pilates. Holistic nutritionist Katrina Foe joins us today to discuss her inspirational health story. Plus, she's sharing some of the shocking discoveries she's made about healing cancer. This is Advocate Now. Well, Katrina, you have an incredible story, which is why we're so glad to have you here with us today. You're a cancer survivor and you beat the disease 100% naturally. Tell us about your cancer diagnosis and what prompted you to look to nutrition and other holistic methods to kickstart your healing.
Absolutely, Sonia. Thanks for having me. I had some experiences with food as medicine prior to my cancer diagnosis. My oldest daughter had had some tooth decay, and we had been working with diet to reverse it and been successful. And the whole process had really opened our eyes to how powerful food is. And so when I got the cancer diagnosis, it was kind of just a no-brainer for me to start there, looking at natural things. I also had a friend that had had cancer that, I had seen firsthand how ravaging the chemotherapy and the whole process with the surgery and everything was. And that wasn't really me. And so, between those two factors, it was definitely clear cut for myself.
So once you decided that you were going to undergo natural treatment, what was the first step at that point?
Yeah, that's a great question. I started by putting everything on the table because I thought I was doing all the right things. We had cleaned up our diet. We were making our own toiletries and cleaning products and like all the stuff. And so I was actually really perplexed and kind of overwhelmed by, what am I doing wrong? Like, why would this happen? So I put everything on the table. I started reading both sides of, all the different aspects, vegan versus meat eating, all the different things on cancer, because clearly something I was doing was not right. Somebody else I knew had gone down to a Gerson clinic in Mexico. So I started by jumping on board. I'm like, this will give me some time to kind of regroup, detox, think about this, and learn a lot about, what I hadn't been doing in terms of not eating meat. So the interesting thing was I went down there and I had read the books and had a lot of questions. This is how I process things. And I kept asking questions. And by the third day, the director of the program sat me down and was like, Katrina, I think you just need to trust in the process. You're asking a lot of questions, you just need to trust. And I wasn't okay with that. I mean, this is a life or death situation, and they didn't have any answers for me. They'd say something like, go read the books. And I'm like, I have. And they couldn't explain why I should eat this or not eat that. So I basically was kicked out of the cancer clinic.
Wow.
Yeah. So after that, I kind of felt like I was free falling and I didn't really have a lot of direction. And I was really grateful. I found a practitioner that did for me what I now do for other clients in terms of starting to look at functional labs to see all the areas that were off that I didn't necessarily know about. And I was actually really surprised. I had never done any functional or lab testing, and the things that came up blew me away.
I am so happy that we're talking about this because in Western society, I think people are really starting to acknowledge that a poor diet can harm the body, but we do really still have a long way to go in terms of recognizing how it can help heal us, because the foods we eat, as you mentioned, really do heal. So I'm curious, what did your diet look like during your cancer healing journey? And also, do you have any specific diet tips for those who are currently battling cancer?
Absolutely. So for me, because I was kind of feeling my way in the dark as I went through it, I tried a lot of different things that didn't work and tried pretty much every diet out there until I really found the research and tried the ketogenic diet. Now I'm not talking about the, dirty Velveeta and bacon version of ketogenic that's kind of become popularized since then, but a clean, really strategic ketogenic diet where people are actually getting into ketosis is what the actual research is showing to be far and away the most beneficial for cancer clients, whether they are doing standard of care. This can actually make standard of care more effective, or if they're going all natural and doing a more functional approach. Either way, this is essential to cancer.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times we see an emphasis on plant-based diets or eating raw when it comes to cancer prevention or cancer treatment. But so it's really interesting that this is what worked for you. Do you think it is more of an individualized basis?
Yes and no. So what the research is showing and what we're understanding now is that, and this is from the 30s. Otto Warburg won the Nobel Prize for demonstrating the metabolism and its function in cancer clients is really critical. So when a cell is considered cancer, it's when the metabolism inside the cell shifts. And that shift is going to mean that it needs huge amounts more of sugar, glucose, blood sugar, to actually do its thing to proliferate. And so that's why it creates new blood vessels called angiogenesis to actually bring itself more blood sugar in order to proliferate. So we know that having the blood sugar high is going to drive the cancer. Now, when you're talking about a plant-based diet, it depends on how the person's actually doing that. Is this vegan? Is it vegetarian? Are they incorporating animal products at all in there? But for the most part, this is going to be a diet really heavily based on carbohydrates, which is going to drive the blood sugar up. And that's the main reason why, looking at something like a ketogenic diet where the majority of the diet, like up to 80%, is fat, so that you're really getting your energy as a human being for all your healthy cells from the fat instead of from blood sugar. That way, your healthy cells get fed and are able to do the work of healing while we're not feeding and driving the metabolism of the cancer cells.
How long would you say it took you as a whole to cure yourself of cancer on this keto diet?
Yeah, the whole healing journey for myself was probably about a year and a half from start to finish. Yeah, I mean, it's all kind of vague where the official line is that you're cured and everything. But I noticed, let's see, it would have been about June that the lump was gone. And I had found it the previous March. So a little over a year.
Nutrition, as we're saying, can be such a powerful tool for prevention as well. So as a survivor and a holistic nutritionist, what do you think people should know about preventing, not only cancer, but disease in general?
Oh, I love this. So here's the thing is we as an American society tend to look at things as black or white. You are sick, you aren't sick, whether we're talking about autoimmune or cancer or, a cold. This is not really how the body works, though. It's more of a spectrum. And so, on one side, we are healthy and vibrant. Everything is perfect, if you will. On the other side, it's so messed up that we're dead. And, a diagnosis comes somewhere, in here. But there's area before the diagnosis where there are symptoms that we can see. There are markers on lab tests that we can test for to notice you're going the wrong direction. And hey, if you can, let's back it up so that you don't end up with that diagnosis, that destruction of the tissue, that, chronic disease state, whatever it is that we're talking about. And unfortunately, most people are not going to be motivated to actually do the things in terms of shifting diet, taking supplements and all that until they get to the pain threshold. And they have to be in enough pain to be motivated to do this stuff. And this is where my passion really lies. And let's change the trajectory before we get to the pain. And then don't just hop back over the pain. Let's get as far away from the pain as possible so that you never have to experience that again.
I'm Sonia Baghdadi. Thanks for watching and advocating. For more stories and content like this, visit advocate.com and advocatechannel.com.